Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and I put this in the slides and the notes. But anyway, I just want to say I'm glad to see you're all here. Okay. You know, we're all separated and we're all far apart, but I'm glad you're here. Okay. I hope you're all healthy. I hope all of your family members are safe and healthy, and I really do hope that all of you are doing well. I also want to just acknowledge that everyone might be in a bit of a different place, and some of you might not be doing that great. Maybe some of you have family members who are sick, or know someone who's sick, or maybe even possibly died. Some of you might be in financially difficult places because of, kind of layoffs related to the coronavirus. Some of you guys might be suffering with anxiety, or you worry about your parents or grandparents or other loved ones. Some of you might be struggling with just staying at home, not able to see your friends or even just give someone a hug. And probably, myself included, most of us maybe just aren't ready to start a brand new academic quarter. The idea of 10 weeks of instruction and all of that maybe feels a little bit overwhelming right now. I don't know what to say. All I can say is, I see you, and you are not alone. We are struggling and grieving together as a community, also as a nation and as a planet. This is really weighing on us and affecting all of us. And all I can say is that, we will get through it. I don't know when it will all be over, but I do know it will end. All simulations and models show that it ends at some point. And as much as all of this kind of, sucks, most of the models show that, the more careful we are about spreading the disease and limiting infections, is that it will take even longer for the infections to stop. And we actually want it to take a long time to end, because that's what kind of the flattening the curve is, that a longer duration of this means fewer people are infected, fewer people die, and fewer people are in need of care at any one given time. And so, I don't know when it's all going to be over, but we will get through this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And let's see. And that's what we want. And we're going to click share. And I want to share. Okay. You guys are able to see my screen? Okay. So let me see. Okay, I need my panels put up. And we'll throw, okay, here's the chat panel as well. Okay. I do want to just at least plant a seed in your mind that you consider the option of taking your classes pass, no pass, okay? UCLA Academic Senate has given the option for students to take all of their classes as pass, no pass. This is an option available to all students. Normally, if you're a stats major, you have to take all of your stats classes as letter grade, okay? So that's normal policy. And I'm waiting for written confirmation. I've heard some talk, all right? Nothing has been written yet, but I've heard some talk that the stats department is planning on relaxing the letter grade requirement for spring 2020, for this quarter. and that you can take classes as pass, no pass, and it will still count towards the major requirement, okay? Again, I'm waiting for written confirmation, so please wait for that before you make a decision. But my understanding is that the university has also kind of extended the time where you can make that switch into switch to do pass, no pass. Okay, so I just kind of want to plant this seed in your head, and you know, if you take this class as pass, no pass, you'll need a 70% to pass, and you know that at least for me, you know, just would relieve a lot of kind of stress and burden, right? It's a lot easier, you know, if in your mind you feel like you have to get an A, okay, which is like a 93%, okay, or at least an A minus, which is a 90%, you know, you don't have a lot of wiggle room, right? You do bad on one exam, then, you know, that eats up a lot of the kind of the errors that you're allowed to make. Whereas, you know, if you go pass, no pass, then you're allowed to make a lot more mistakes. You're allowed to do bad on a homework assignment or do poorly on an exam or something like that. Okay, so again, don't declare pass, no pass just yet. You wait for the statistics department to get back to you. But I think they're going to relax the letter grade requirement. Okay, so I just want to kind of plant that that idea in your head. You know, especially if you find yourself under a lot of stress these days. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Zoom. I've been spending a lot of time in kind of Zoom training sessions and learning how to use this. And so, so first up, we've got kind of just your mute and unmute buttons. And so you can try muting and unmuting yourself, and you can try pausing your video or resuming that, okay? Let's see. Okay, and if you hover over this, there should be a button that says participants, okay? Do you guys see that? All right, and if you click that, it will pull up a little panel to the side where you can give me feedback icons like yes or no, okay? So if you see that, let me just have everybody click their yes button, okay? And I just kind of want to see my panel light up with yes, okay? So a lot of you guys are clicking your yes buttons, so that's great. Okay, some of you guys are still trying to figure this out, but again, there's our participants panel that that you can click, and you'll have a whole bunch of yes and no buttons. Yes, no, go faster, go slower, things like that. Okay, and this will just help me get kind of a quick pulse in the room when I ask things like, does this make sense? You know, do you guys, something like that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clear everybody's thing. Somebody gave me a clap, all right. So let me go ahead and clear that. There's also the chat. So you can click the chat panel, and you should be able to just say hello there. So I'm going to go ahead and type in hello, and if you just want to say hi in your chat panel, that's also available. Okay, all right, there we go. And so you know, if you have questions, you can ask your questions there as that. Rush, I don't know what that, okay, all right. So you can do that. And also there is a raise hand button that that you should be able to use as well, okay? And so if you raise your hand, I can unmute you, and you can ask your question. You can also unmute yourself, but just to kind of manage the chaos, will allow me to kind of try to manage who's being called and things like that. Okay, I think you guys are also able to set up your own Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And so, yeah, and that's something I would encourage you guys to do is to, you know, schedule kind of some social meetings with friends and things like that. And you can set all of that with ucla.zoom.us. During office hours, I think it'll generally be open, but maybe I'll designate some time for private office hours, and then and I can set up a waiting room where basically just I can allow one person into the Zoom meeting at a time. Okay. All right. Oh, and then there's also I think on the panel itself there's also a reactions button, and you got like an applause and you have a thumbs up, which is a little bit different from the kind of the feedback icons. And I don't know, you guys see that? If you do see that, go ahead and click your thumbs up button in the reactions. All right, okay. That's great. It's great to see. Okay, a lot of, it's okay, all right. So I don't know, we're good? Any questions? If you got a question, throw it in the chat. Okay, let me start off with the syllabus for our course 102B. So a lot of you have taken a class with me before, and some of you have not. So I'm sorry, I never introduced myself. I'm Miles Chen, so that's my name, and my email address is this, mileschen@stat.ucla.edu, and I think you guys are all familiar with CCLE. And right now I'm planning on holding my office hours on Saturdays at 10 a.m., but we'll also allow them to set up appointments. And you know, my request is that in your emails, address me as either Miles or Professor Chen or Dr. Chen, okay? So, you know, this is just a nitpick, but I don't like generic emails that just start off with hello or hi with no name whatsoever. And I also prefer not to just be called just by my last name, but that's that. Okay. All right. I struggled a lot. This was the hardest part with trying to decide how to do grading for this class. And I'm still not even sure if this is exactly what I want to do, but this is where I have arrived right now, okay, is that I'm going to have these lecture viewing quizzes. This is going to be kind of the stand-in for attendance, and I'll explain this for you. But basically, each lecture, I'm going to give kind of like these answers for these viewing quizzes, and it's only going to be audible. It's not going to be part of the notes, and so it's just to kind of make sure students watch the lecture video at some time, or at least are part of the class. And so anyway, that's I decided to count that for 10%. Should be the easiest 10% to earn as long as you come to class. 3% Campus Wire, so that's going to be our class discussion forum where you guys can ask questions of each other and answer them, and that will be worth 3%. There details about that. I'm planning on having 6 homework assignments, 6% each. None of them are dropped. You know, my homework assignments are known to be lengthy, and but that's by design. That's, I believe, that is where a lot of the learning happens, is by is in an active approach by forcing you guys to do stuff. Okay. Right now, I'm planning on having I guess 3 exams, 2 midterms, and a final. And I have not figured out exactly how best to do this. I'm talking to other instructors, seeing how they're doing. So so right now I don't have details regarding the exams. So that's being planned. I think if I added this up correctly, this adds up to 99, and so I'm going to give everybody a free point, free 1% point. Okay, and again, this is just this is a little bit tentative. I might make some tweaks to this, and if I do, I'll keep you informed on everything. Okay. I don't curve. Okay, I go straight scale, and so so this is this. Nobody is graded based on performance relative to peers. Okay, so I don't. So you know, whatever grade you get on your homework, whatever grade you get on an exam, that should give you a clear picture of how you're doing. You don't have to worry about how the rest of the class is doing. Okay, so so I don't believe in grading you know, students against each other. The only difference that makes is the top 5%. That's the only one, and that's the A+. Okay, so if you want an A+, you have to do better than 95% of your peers. But other than that, I don't grade relative students relative to each other. Okay, so there should be no mystery. On an exam, I might make an adjustment if the average for the exam is lower, far lower than I expect. I might just add points across the board. Again, that's not curving. That's just giving free points. And again, it's not based on how you perform relative to the others. It's just and so, you know, whatever grade goes in the grade book, you can use that to kind of figure out how you're doing in the class. There's no relative grading here. Okay. Okay, Zoom lectures. I already sent an email about this. Okay, and you are allowed to eat, drink, and snack, and you're allowed to get up and use the restroom and all of that. I think I've disabled virtual backgrounds, and again, my request is that you don't walk around too much with your laptop, because then the whole your whole screen shakes, and it can be a tiny bit distracting. And you know, just in general, use your judgment. Try to avoid doing anything super distracting here. Okay, and this should go for your other classes. Maybe in your other classes they have not disabled the virtual background feature, but I would recommend not using virtual backgrounds. I know it can be fun, and there's like a lot of memes going around on the internet right now about silly virtual backgrounds that people are using, but you know, I don't think it's all that great. Okay. All right, so let me talk about these lecture viewing quizzes. Okay, so on CCLE, I think there's already a quiz up that says Monday lecture attendance quiz or viewing quiz or something like that. Okay, there's basically two multiple choice questions. Okay, the first one is two multiple choice questions. And so what you want to do for the first question, the answer is going to be the letter B, B as in boy. Go ahead and write that down so that for after class is over, you can go immediately and take the quiz. And what's going to happen is during the lecture, I'm going to give the answer to these viewing quizzes just audibly. And so it's not going to be in the notes, not something that somebody can just scroll through in the notes and get the answer within a few seconds. It's going to kind of require someone to either attend the class live or watch the video. Okay, and the reason for this, okay, and it's not that I'm trying to be like this, you know, babysit you guys or anything like that, but I took an online class, or I've taken online courses. And especially for people who live in distant time zones where it's asynchronous, where you can just watch a video and things like that, it can be easy to fall behind on the videos. It's easy to like skip class one day or not watch the video, and then you do it again and you do it again, and then you know, in a week or two you're like 6 lectures behind, and at that point there's it's like almost impossible to catch up. Okay, so So yeah, I took an online course and then I had to drop it because I allowed myself to fall way behind. So anyway, basically what this does is the attendance viewing quiz is going to be open basically 2 days. So, so today's Monday, so today's quiz is open today and tomorrow, and it will close tomorrow at midnight, okay, California time. And so if you want to get credit for viewing the quiz, you've got to view the lecture kind of on the schedule that that we have classes. And the hope of that is it will discourage people from falling too far behind. But for those of you who do watch the lecture video, it should be the easiest 10% of points to get in the class. Okay, so so and the way I'm going to do this, again, just to kind of prevent someone from listening for the first however many minutes before I give the answer, I have 2 questions in there. The second question will come in the second part of the course. So the first answer is B, and then I'll give the answer to the second question. Are there any? Let's see. Are the quiz answers the same for the 2 sessions? Yes. Okay. So if you are in lecture 4 or if you're in lecture 3, you can kind of swap lectures, and it will be the same answers for both lectures. Okay. So so yeah. So lecture 3, lecture 4 will both have the same answer. So if you if you attend the kind of the other lecture, then you'll still get the same answers and you'll still get credit. Now, I have to manually type in kind of these questions and these answers and stuff. And so there's a possibility that I make a mistake, that what I said in lecture doesn't match the answer on CCLE or something like that. If that happens, just let me know on CampusWire. And if a bunch of your classmates also agree and say, hey, this went wrong, then we can fix it. Okay. But make sure you click the right buttons and all of that. And that should be okay. Is that good with everybody? You can use your yes icons. Like that. Okay. All right. So we've got that. Okay. So those are that's going to be lecture viewing quizzes. Okay. Homework. You'll see the homework deadlines on CCLE. I'll probably wait to assign your first homework assignment for a few days here. We'll just kind of get settled into the rhythm of these online courses, and so if you've taken a course with me before, or if you haven't, look over the syllabus. The deadlines are California time, and there's a 10-minute grace period. So anyway. Submit them, and each hour that it's late, you'll lose 5 points, and so on and so forth. And again, if you have a reason for needing an extension or anything like that, you can just include the documentation with the homework. You don't have to email me directly there, okay? Unless you need longer than 3 days or something. Okay. Regarding office hours, we're going to have office hours. Everything will be done on Zoom, and so we'll have to figure that out. and anyway, I'm happy to just talk to you guys about whatever questions and materials and things like that. Regarding homework regrades and all of that, I think I'm going to delegate that to my TA, but let me just kind of finalize this and provide you guys with a policy there. All right, so let's start talking about what this class is about, and so yeah, today we'll see how far we get. I don't know if we'll get to new content yet, but I think that's okay. I think we're all a little. I don't know, at least for me, wasn't sure how I feel about starting the quarter today, so I think it's okay if this first lecture is pretty light on actual content. Okay, so anyway, what is this class about? All right, so this class is titled Computation and Optimization for Statistics, and it's I don't know. I think it's highly relevant to data science stuff. Okay, and so there is a diagram, this Venn diagram that I like to show, talking about, you know, when someone asks what is data science, I would say, you know, data science is kind of the at a kind of the overlap of coding skills, math and stats knowledge, and domain expertise, knowledge about the data. Okay, and so this is kind of what our picture looks like. All right, and so a lot of our courses fall in this math and stats knowledge, and the 102A series, or 102 series, so that's 102A, or I guess stats 20, 102A, 102B, and 102C. Also, falls in this kind of hacking and coding skills, okay? And so 102A was primarily focused on coding, at least the first half, and then a little bit of it later overlapped with the math and stats knowledge, okay? And this class, 102B, is going to be entirely in the overlap between your coding or your hacking skills and your math stats knowledge, okay? And in this Venn diagram, it's labeled machine learning, and certainly we will cover a lot of machine learning stuff. And then again, for you to become true data scientists, okay, what you will need is you'll need substantive or domain knowledge, okay? So whatever field of data that you are working with, you need to have knowledge of that. Otherwise, your machine learning or math stats and hacking skills will not do you very much good, right? So if you are doing research on, you know, epidemiology, okay, you need to have some epidemiology knowledge. You cannot just say, here's a data set, here is some data, and I'm going to just throw some algorithms at it, okay? That's not going to work out well. That's not going to work out well, okay? So, you know, maybe you only need at least a basic knowledge, but do some reading on the subject itself, okay? If you're going to be doing work, if you're working with you know, customer information and advertising data, you'll want to understand the segment of customers that you're dealing with, okay? So this is very important. We are not able, when I say we, we're talking about the statistics department, because you know, data science can be applied to kind of any data field. We cannot provide the substantive expertise across every single possible field, okay? So whatever you're interested in, you need to go out and you need to spend some time learning about that, right? If you're interested in sports, you got to learn a little bit about the sports, okay? And so, you know, when you pick a data project and things like that, if you don't know anything about the underlying subject, you're going to be in trouble. So, so make sure you understand that. So, okay, let's talk about this course, okay? And so, so yeah, we are definitely going to cover some machine learning algorithms. I'm going to assume everybody is comfortable with writing code. You guys all took 102A, either with me or Professor Wu, or, you know, someone else, and you should have gotten quite a bit of exercise writing code, and so I'm going to presume everybody's capable of writing code, and so when I give you some homework exercises, you're going to have to write some of these things, okay? And I'm going to cover some machine learning algorithms, and you are going to have to code these algorithms yourself by hand, okay? Now, that said, when you go out in the real world, you're not going to code up these algorithms yourself, okay? Pretty much all of these algorithms have already been implemented in packages in R or Python or wherever it might be, right? So these, you can use, a lot of these algorithms already exist, and they're very high quality, and you're going to use the professionally written ones, okay? But as far as this class goes, I'm going to make you kind of do things yourself by hand, right? It's kind of like you had to learn how to multiply numbers by hand in grade school, and that should have deepened your understanding of how some of this stuff works. And then, you know, today, and when you multiply big numbers, you just use the computer or calculator to do it for you, okay? But, you know, I do know that sometimes, depending on where you interview, some companies will ask you to explain how certain algorithms work, right? They might call it a whiteboard interview, and you have to kind of teach a little bit on whatever subject or question they ask you about, okay? And I hope those exercises in your homework and stuff will do that, okay? We're going to cover a bunch of key concepts from machine learning, such as loss functions and likelihood functions, cross-validation, regularization. These are all different topics. And we'll look at certain machine learning models. And we're going to start off with linear regression. And I know you guys all took 101A. All right, I'm pretty sure you guys all took 101A. And so you're familiar with linear regression, but we're going to approach it from a machine learning perspective. We'll take a look at neural networks and MLE models and classification models and all of this, okay? All of these things. We'll see how much time we have, okay? This is my goal. There's some matrix stuff involved in here, and so we'll do that, okay? There's quite a bit of overlap between this course and 101C. In 101C, you cover quite a bit of some machine learning models, but I believe in the 101C course, it focuses a little bit more on the applications, okay? And there's additional ones that we won't have time to cover in this class, such as random forest and SVM and things like, or well, maybe we'll cover some SVM in this class, but GAMs, generalized additive models and things of that nature. But the 101C generally does not require you to write the algorithms yourself, but rather you learn the application of these things. And so, so that's what we've got there, okay? So 101C focuses more on applications, and 102B will focus a little bit more on the algorithms. All right, and this is just kind of the stats major overall. So you just kind of how everything fits in together. You got your foundations of statistical thinking in Stats 10, computational foundations in Stats 20 and 102A. And then the 100 series is all the mathematical theory, all of your mathematical statistics courses, okay? And then 101A and 101B, such as the linear regression and your design of experiments, those are useful when data collection is expensive and you want to maximize the information you can get on a limited amount of data, okay? I imagine a lot of you are taking 101B this quarter, and probably you'll have a project where you collect data from the island, and you'll recognize part of that assignment or that project is you'll find that it is time consuming to collect data, all right? And that just gives you a small glimpse of how data can be expensive to acquire. But on the other hand, we're also in this age of a lot of computerized data and automated things, and data is cheap, or that there's just tons of data available, okay? And in these cases, prediction is quite important. And so, so this class 101C and 102B is useful in these applications, okay? And then 102C, if you guys take that with me in the fall, or another professor in the fall, I introduce Bayesian models to accommodate prior beliefs and things like that. And that's a whole nother kind of segment of statistics there. Okay, I always like to call these the classes in the 102 series as like a coding 2 course, okay? UCLA requires you to take a Writing 2 course, which you know, comes from many different subjects and things like that. But basically in a Writing 2 course, you have to write a lot of papers. You got to write essays, you got to write papers and stuff. And you can kind of think of this as kind of like a coding 2, in that you're gonna have to write a lot of code, right? And that's just the nature of this. And I do believe writing code is very essential if you do plan on going into data analysis or data science as a career, right? Okay, that said, I do want to just talk a little bit about academic integrity and plagiarism. And, you know, for my homework, you know, if you search hard enough, you can probably find answers, okay? And there's a lot of high quality code that will be out there on the internet that can do exactly what you want it to do, okay? But I just want to encourage you and remind you that the goal of this class is not to accomplish a task, right? We're going to learn how to do k-means clustering or k-nearest neighbors classification algorithm, okay? And if the goal was to accomplish that task, then you would just use the already built-in k-means clustering code or function, or the k-nearest neighbors function that already exists on the computer, right? Or you could look online and find stuff. But the goal is not that we actually classify the data or cluster the data or things like that. The goal is to help you to learn how to write code and help you to understand these things, okay? And so, you know, looking at the answers is not going to be helpful, right? I think we understand this concept of no pain, no gain if we go to the gym, all right? And again, if you go to the gym for weight training or something, the goal is not that the weights get lifted, right? Lifting weights is not the goal, but lifting weights is the process, the means by which we achieve the real goal of gaining strength, right? And the same goes for the homework exercises and things like that in this class, is that the writing of the algorithm, the accomplishing the task of writing the code to cluster or writing the code to do a classification is not the goal in of itself, okay? The goal is your education, your training, your learning, and that assignment is the means by which we're going to accomplish that, okay? And so if you, you know, take the shortcut and have someone else write the code for you, or you just copy someone else's code, you're going to miss out on what what the task is meant to offer, okay? And so I write, plagiarizing code for a difficult assignment is like having a stronger person lift the weights that are too heavy for you, right? That would be good if the goal of lifting weights was to lift weights, but doesn't help for the goal of gaining strength. And similarly, if the goal is to accomplish a task, sure, use the pre-written code, right? So when you go to a job and you need to accomplish tasks like clustering things and classifying things, yes, use the professionally written code, okay? But if the goal is to get you to learn, write the code yourself, okay? All right, and I'm not trying to vilify anybody who plagiarizes, right? I think it's just a misplaced set of confusing the goals, right? Maybe they've confused the idea of getting a good grade over the goal of learning. But again, the goal of the course is your learning, okay? And so that's where we are, right? I recognize that that we do have to have individualized grading schemas, and I have to evaluate you based on but whatnot. But I'm hoping that at some point, okay, all right, you can judge your performance, how well you did in a class, based on what you learned, and not necessarily the score you got on the homework, right? I want you to be less concerned about the actual grade on your homework than what you learned from the homework assignment. Okay, that's that's um, that's my goal for you guys. Okay. All right, and so my expectations for you is that when you are faced with a homework assignment, is that you will work hard and that you will not seek out solutions of another student, whether it's a current student or a former student, that you will not search for these things. Okay, and if you're not able to complete everything by the assignment deadline, just go ahead and submit what you were able to do and accept that, your grade is going to be less than 100%, but that's okay, all right? This is not a failure of you or your coding abilities, but just indicates that, this is an area for growth and improvement, right? And so, um, you know, as the deadline's approaching and you don't have your assignment done, it can be stressful, and you might feel like, oh no, I gotta find out how to do this thing. And I just want to say it's okay. It's okay to score less than 100%. Okay, it's okay. So, all right. If we come across issues, we do take it seriously, and things get reported to the dean. So. All right, I've got some things about like what's allowed versus not allowed. Basically, you can't show each other your code, right? And I know this can be a frustrating thing. Even in office hours, I try to avoid looking at students' code, okay? And I try to have the student articulate what the issue is that they are facing, okay? So, so you can talk on Campus Wire about how to approach a problem using words, right? You can say you used a for loop, and within each loop you did this kind of thing, and that is, and that's allowed, right? What you cannot do is you cannot show code, all right? Or you cannot actually copy and paste your code. So on Campus Wire, I kind of have this, you can write down you can say, check out this function, try thinking of using this function or this command, but you can't write any code on Campus Wire, right? You're not allowed to look at each other's code, even if it's just to kind of double check their work, or even if it's to kind of debug someone's code. What you can do, right, is you can say, this is the error message I'm getting. Can you help me figure out what might be causing this error message, right? And so if you're getting a particular error message, such as missing value or true false needed, then you can say, you know what, it will pop up if you have a missing value, an NA, inside an if statement, right? And so search your if statements, make sure that you don't have any missing values, things like that. And I know this can be frustrating when you're meeting with me in office hours and things like that. Is that, you know, it's an important skill. It's an important skill to develop, to be able to read and debug your own code, okay? You won't, when you work and you start working, you won't necessarily have the luxury of someone else debugging your code for you, right? I mean, what would the point of hiring you be if you can't debug your own code? So, I guess maybe at an not an entry level, but certain jobs you have to read other people's code and not debug them, but search for flaws and vulnerabilities in that code, right? And so that's kind of a different job. That's not so much a stats major's job, but it's in the path. You are developing some of the skills necessary for that, but it's an important skill that you debug your own code. Okay, and so during office hours, I try to avoid looking at students' code unless we really can't figure out what's going on. But I'll often ask a lot of questions regarding what did you do, how did you approach it, and things like that. Okay, and it is a coding class, so you are encouraged to talk about code. Anything I put in the lectures, you can talk about that. You can talk about code, as long as it's not part of a homework assignment. So part of a homework assignment, you got to kind of figure out your own code and figure out your own bugs and solve those things. Okay. Well, the last few minutes, I just wanted to talk a little bit about living life in these times of uncertainty. And okay, so first of all, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. I really don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a person who teaches statistics classes. These are my thoughts and my opinions. I'm not representing UCLA or the Department of Statistics or anything else. Okay. But we are, you know, everything's online today, and because because of the risk of infection by meeting together, we've never had any kind of, this is truly a once in a lifetime type of event where we're facing this coronavirus pandemic. And so I just want to kind of give you some stuff that could be helpful for maintaining some, kind of maintaining your mental health and sanity in these uncertain times. And I didn't finish my sentence, but everyone's different, and I'm not claiming that this is going to work for everybody. All right, but but this is just what I wanted to share. This was kind of weighing on my heart and mind, and I wanted to go over it. Okay. Also, cut yourself some slack. Okay, no one's feeling 100% right now. Okay, no one wanted a spring quarter entirely online, and I don't expect anybody to be doing any or all of these things. And these are just kind of some goals to strive for, right? So anyway, I also wanted to kind of list off some mental health services that are available. All right, so it's totally normal to feel sad or stressed, confused, or scared during these times. It is sad, it is stressful, it is confusing, and it is scary. So it's normal to have these emotions and feelings. Um, but you do not have to suffer alone. Okay, there are other people, and we might not be able to meet physically in person, but we can still connect virtually, in these Zoom meetings and things of that nature. Okay, so UCLA CAPS has telecounseling services. They're probably under a lot of heavy strain right now, but that's their phone number. Okay, I looked up information for LA County and Orange County, and they have some mental health helplines. Um, but wherever you are, check your local county public health department to see if they offer any kind of mental health counseling and things of that nature, if you find yourself in need of that. Okay. I don't know how often you are checking the news and watching TV, or reading articles and checking the numbers and stuff. And I just want to say, be mindful of the content you consume, right? It's good to stay informed, right? But there's also a thing as having too much of this content and too much of this information, right? Especially if you are prone to anxiety, I would encourage you to just kind of limit your reading related to the coronavirus to like once a day. All right, you can just kind of read a few headline articles, but it's not healthy to be checking your phone every hour and reading up about more sad news. Okay, I mean it's good to be informed, but there is such a thing as having too much of this stuff, right? Same goes for anything else that you find upsetting, right? Like political news and things like that. That a lot of these things we're not able to directly influence ourselves, right? Okay, other things that are going to be important during these times is that you just take care of yourself, right? Um, Shower, maintain good hygiene. It's easy to let these things go when you are cooped up in your house all by yourself, right? You're not going out meeting other people, so it's easy to let some of these things go. But I want to encourage you to kind of maintain your good hygiene habits that you would have if you are, at university. Pretend that you are going to meet people, and I think this will kind of just help you feel better about yourself. Keep your room clean. I know I'm not your dad, okay? I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but it's helpful. It's helpful to have a clean room, to be in a place where you're living and you feel good about the place you're living, right? If you're able to, physical exercise is always helpful. If you're able to, eating healthy is good. Of course, you're allowed to eat comfort foods. You're allowed to eat mac and cheese and quesadillas, um, but it's good to it's good to be helpful, right? Healthy, right? Connect with other people. This is going to be hard. This is going to require a lot more concerted effort, especially if you might be more of an introvert type. Um, but you know, introverted people still need human connection with other people. Okay, that's still important for people. All right, and so my recommendation is that you are intentional. You seek out some friends and you say, hey, you know what, the three of us, the four of us, we should have a Zoom chat at least once a week, right? Mark it in your calendar, set it aside, and meet together at regular intervals. Not just, hey, we should do this again, and then you never schedule anything. Like set some times in the thing, and oh, second lecture quiz, has that been provided? It hasn't been. Okay, good. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry for that. Like second lecture quiz answer will be E as in elephant. Okay, E as in elephant. So B and E. That's the answers. Okay. And how will discussion? You know, I have to figure out discussion section. Should you buy the textbook? Um, I will make use of the textbook in the homework, and I think it's a great textbook. Sorry, I've been off talking about stuff. So yeah, let me talk to my TA and talk about discussion section. So I'll get back to you regarding the discussion section. Okay, and then and again, this is the last thing that I want to say. Again, I'm not trying to be your dad, okay? But certain activities, and I don't know if this is a huge problem for you guys or not, but you know, certain things, you know, alcohol, recreational drugs, pornography, binge eating, those are activities that can flood your brain with pleasure chemicals. And so, you know, in stressful times where people are feeling isolated and disconnected, it's easy to want to seek out a source of endorphins and a quick fix. But I want to just kind of encourage you not to turn to these things, okay? Because I don't want anybody to become overly dependent on these instant pleasure devices. It is possible to continue to, you know, form a habit of continuing to turn to these things, you know, a little bit too often. Okay, so just want to give you some warnings there. Okay, and lastly, I do want to say, you know, your health, your physical, your mental, your spiritual, emotional health, is far more important than your grades. So please take care of yourself. If you get sick or experience issues, let me know. I'll try to be flexible and accommodating, you know, as much as possible within reason. And I'm here to teach you, and I'm here to support you. Okay, so I look forward to the quarter with you guys, and it's going to be quite different being online and everything. But I appreciate you guys tuning in today, and so that will conclude our lecture for the first day. We'll start real content, I guess, on Wednesday, same time, and I'm thankful for you guys, and I'm glad to see you. So with that, you guys can sign off, and we will see you guys on Wednesday.